open America's vast petroleum resources.
The rivers will stop flowing, and the rains will become irregular, and the crops will fail, and you will die of hunger and starvation.
20 or 25 birds were killed, and they brought out a Migratory Bird Act to go after them on a criminal basis. Look, I want to make sure we use our oil, our coal, our gas.
Climate change poses a growing danger.
The risks of climate change are real.
Animals. They're big and small, quiet and loud, solitary and social. They have feelings, they have opinions, and they have needs. They're just like us, if you think about it. So why is it that we act so superior? Most people will say it's because we are more developed. The higher species. Hey, we have thumbs. However, none of these attributes constitute how we as human beings are harming animal species. Every day, every minute, every second, more and more animals are feeling the effects of our expansion, our disregard for the wildlife that surrounds us. And every day, more and more animals are dying because of us. Now, some of you may be thinking, honestly, I don't really care. I don't care about an endangered bird. I don't care about the deforestation of the rainforest. I would like to let you in on a little secret. We are all connected, each animal and each human being. What happens to an animal directly and indirectly affects us. Thus, our harmful wildlife practices affect us too, in more ways than we'd like to imagine. At this point in history, it's hard to imagine not living like we do. It's hard to imagine life without cars, computers, electricity, plumbing. Now, as hard as that is to imagine, try to imagine our world without animals, trees, clean water, oxygen. Picture yourself, a human, captain of a dying planet. Now stop imagining, because that future could easily become a reality. We live in an amazing new world, a world where technology reigns supreme and money talks. But think about a time before we had any of this, a time when wildlife and human beings shared the landscape without one attempting to destroy the other. We don't have to get rid of everything we have now to achieve that balance once again. No, all we have to do is listen. Listen to the world around us, take a moment to feel the hum of the earth below our feet, and most importantly, we all have to take an active role in the conservation of the wildlife of this planet, no matter how small or large that role may be. Because if we sit idly by while more and more habitats are destroyed and more species become extinct, then even if we aren't the ones cutting down those trees or signing the agreements to bulldoze that land, we're still an enormous part of the problem. It's all well and good to say that we should be helping animals. You know, not testing makeup on baby bunnies, saving the whales. However, it's a completely different thing to be able to articulate why animals need saving. Besides the obvious morality of helping another living being, how will it benefit human beings to save animals? Why should we care? Wildlife today is being ravaged by the human population, not just in the United States, not just in North America, everywhere. Due to the expansionist policies of the industrial businesses, inappropriate use of natural resources, and climate change caused significantly by human activity, animals around the world are dying. The major threats to wildlife today are issues caused by industrial businesses and inappropriate use of resources. Threats caused by industrial businesses include oil and gas development and pollution, while threats caused by inappropriate use of resources include deforestation, overfishing, and bycatch.
What is the rush, guys? What? Where's the fire?
You got 3 handles, I want 3 handles.
3 handles, all right.
But the rush is, whoever makes the most holes makes more money.
That's why everybody's rushing around.
Yeah.
Oil and gas development affects the planet's most diverse and ecologically important areas. It can cause lasting damage by disrupting migratory pathways, degrading important habitats, and causing oil spills. It can also devastate the animals and humans that rely on a certain ecosystem by using unproven technologies. Overall, it is a huge threat to wildlife.
The only thing you heard at nighttime here was your heartbeat. Now it's just totally devastated. And the water dumped out, down off their pad, down across my land, into my pond, through the pond and into the wetland here alongside me. And what it did, it killed the pond, killed the fish, killed everything in the pond. No frogs, no turtles, nothing.
Extracting oil and gas can lead to disastrous environmental issues. Though the most easily accessible oil has already been developed, companies still continue to drill in the world's most remote and inhospitable places, and right here in our own backyards. Deadly oil spills and gas leaks are quite common and can occur from blowouts, pipe leaks, failures, or shipping accidents. And though many in our country and government currently want to develop offshore oil in Alaska, the risk of a spill is so high that no insurance companies will even consider insuring the project, and there is no proven method of cleaning oil off of ice, which means that when a spill occurred, it would most definitely ensure death for many of Alaska's endangered and rare species.
During the voyage, I came out on deck on a regular basis, surveyed the horizon, and was surprised that every time I saw trash.
Halfway between Hawaii and the mainland, Moore had motored into the middle of a twice Texas-sized collection zone for floating debris.
Circulating winds draw the debris from around the Pacific Rim, and they bring it into the center, so you get a toilet bowl effect, but there's no exit. The material there may be there since the dawn of the plastic era. This gyre is an enormous area, and if that's as contaminated as the part that I crossed, then we've got a huge problem.
Pollution allows toxic chemicals, debris, and smog to be introduced to millions of habitats each year. It has the ability to spread for miles, affecting areas nowhere near the originally polluted place. Long-term exposure can lead to diseases in animals and illnesses like lung cancer in human beings. Water can also become polluted, killing marine wildlife and sickening any animal that comes in contact with that water source. Overall, pollution infects ecosystems around the globe every single day.
As trees grow, they remove planet-warming carbon dioxide from the air and capture it in their wood and in the soil. When trees are chopped down, they can no longer store carbon, while burning them releases all the carbon they have stored over decades in one instant. We need forests to continue to store and retain carbon from the atmosphere. How can we stop governments and companies profiting from practices that accelerate global warming?
31% of the planet is forest. Trees combat climate change by absorbing carbon, and tropical rainforests are home to much of the world's biodiversity. Every minute, the equivalent of 36 football fields of forest are lost, which is harmful to both the animals that call those forests home and the 1.6 billion people around the world who rely on forests for food, shelter, and jobs.
Overfishing is probably the root of many problems. It removes large, higher trophic level predators like sharks and big fish that control community composition in many areas. And by community composition, I mean, you know, the number and kinds of species that occur within marine communities. And by removing these large predators, there are large-scale and often long-term effects that affect not only how biodiversity is distributed and have effects on local extinctions, but on the goods and services that we get out of these ecosystems.
Overfishing has led to huge issues in ecosystem balance around the world, and more than 85% of the world's fisheries have been pushed to or beyond their biological limits. Bycatch also occurs when fishers target top predators like tuna and catch thousands of other marine animals like seals and dolphins in their nets every year, causing them to die. The loss of these fish means that many species are becoming threatened, which is bad news for the billions of people who rely on these fish for protein and their livelihood.
One of the other really significant changes in habitat is from global warming or climate change. And we see some real distinct things happening that are changing the hatching times of animals, the birthing times of animals. It's changing the blooming times of plants. And we see some mismatches between when insects hatch and when plants that they would normally feed upon are blooming. Those kinds of changes are really significant. It's something that has to be addressed as quickly as possible. I think so much of the damage is already done, but we really need to stop the progression of global warming.
The wildlife of our planet is threatened by many things every day, but the human population truly is its greatest enemy. Through the harmful practices that we enact, we are threatening, endangering, and killing animals around the world, some of which we will never even know existed, which induces disastrous effects on ecosystems around the world, harming billions of people in the process. As stated by Harvard biologist Edward Wilson, we now understand that the majority of life on Earth has never been and will never be known to us, and our present course will lead to the extinction of half of all plant and animal species by 2100.
There's another story behind shark fin soup that no one wants to talk about. I'm starting my investigation by meeting Sarah Fowler, marine ecologist and founder of the Shark Trust.
From a chef's point of view,
yes,
can a bowl of shark fin soup be that damning?
Well, it's not one bowl, of course. It's thousands and thousands of bowls, millions of bowls of soup all over the world. The problem is the carcass is not worth enough money to bother to bring it home. But the fins are dollars in your pocket.
So the real problem is in the finning, which is what exactly? They're taking all the fins off the sharks?
Yes. You catch your animal, we'll have that, and that bit, and the rest will go back. That's what finning is. It's keeping the fins, leaving the carcass, because it's just not worth landing.
Wow.
Chucking 95% of the body overboard, sometimes while the poor shark is still alive, is the cruel and wasteful reality behind finning.
You look at them, the real benefit of having them in the ocean is what?
You need that apex predator because they regulate everything that goes on beneath them. Take those animals away and all sorts of things might happen in the marine food chain which we haven't even anticipated yet.
The situation's out of control. Some shark populations have declined by over 90% in 10 years. With no international fishing regulations or quotas for sharks, the demand for their fins could damage our ocean's ecosystem forever.
The threats facing wildlife due to destructive energy sources are serious, and you may be wondering if there is any solution to such a large problem. Luckily, there is a solution that not only benefits the environment, but also looks out for the welfare of human beings: green energy.
It's important for this region, and it's important everywhere, to be honest with you. The world of energy efficiency, particularly renewables, is the one bright spot in the economy. It's been growing even through the recession. It's a job creator. California's businesses and government actually are working together in many ways, and those policies are driving more innovation in the state. California leads the country, and in many cases the world, in terms of patents. Venture capital, we're drawing a great lion's share of it. And that all is good for the environment. You know, we're reducing energy use and water use and whatnot. But it's also good for the economy because energy efficiency creates local jobs.
A lot of people understand that global warming is a real problem, and no one state or country can solve it on its own.
It promotes energy independence, it helps us to be sustainable, and we're doing the best we can to decrease reliance on fossil fuels for our electrical needs.
Now that you're aware of the major threats facing wildlife today, you may be thinking, how does that relate to human rights? How will it affect me if a species is saved from extinction? And how can I help save that species? The answers to these questions are difficult ones. People like to believe that these issues won't affect them, largely because they've never experienced the adverse effects of animal extinction and habitat destruction. However, people and animals are more connected than many realize.
All wildlife species play a role in the natural balance in the ecosystem. Some birds have been shown to eat insects, for example, that in turn, if not eaten, would prey on trees that are very important to us for making paper and lumber and other species. So we often have unintended consequences when we allow that balance to be upset. Species of wildlife, particularly birds that people love to come and watch, it's a multi-million-dollar tourist business in Connecticut, bird watching and wildlife observation. So not only is there an ecological impact when we lose this diversity, but there's also a great economic impact as well.
People everywhere depend on the earth for survival. People around the world fish, farm, log, and hunt for food, shelter, and other necessities for their families and communities. By conserving wildlife, we conserve the habitats in which people live, we provide billions with food, and we help to sustain small business ventures and eco-friendly incomes while promoting natural resource and wildlife conservation on a global and local scale. By saving animals, we save people.
You don't need any background, you just need the interest and the desire to do something to help wildlife in the natural world.
Learning about wildlife conservation from a movie or a book is great, but taking that knowledge to the next level is where everything truly comes full circle. Getting involved in wildlife conservation is easy. You can do anything from becoming an environmental activist to volunteering in a local wildlife sanctuary. Actively conserving wildlife is all about passion. What you put into it, you will get back. The great thing about wildlife conservation is that anyone can do it. Any age, any location, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. All you have to have is passion. Anyone can write a letter to their state senator or start a petition asking for a greater effort to be placed on wildlife conservation in their own town. Or you could donate to causes like the World Wildlife Fund and other conservation-related projects. Finally, you can volunteer. Making a visible difference in your local community is the most rewarding and likely most beneficial way to conserve wildlife, whether you're a 12-year-old Boy Scout or a senior citizen making birdhouses for a local park. Every little bit helps. Welcome to the Children's Museum Wildlife Sanctuary in West Hartford, Connecticut. Home to over 100 mostly rescued animals, the sanctuary takes on many volunteers each year and is in place not only to teach the general public and thousands of children about conservation, but also for people to go behind the scenes and become animal caretakers themselves as wildlife sanctuary volunteers. Places like this museum exist in most towns throughout the United States, most with the intent to educate the next generation about wildlife conservation. So whether you want to visit or volunteer your time, taking an active role in the conservation of wildlife is truly what it's all about.
I would say just don't quit, because any little thing you do could make a difference, and that maybe like to recycle a lot more, because that would help the population of animals. And if one race of animals becomes extinct, then the other types of animals that use that animal for food could become extinct until there's really nothing left.
So, in regards to wildlife, what does it mean to be a human being?
Human beings are a type of wildlife. We are a part of the natural environment and always have been for tens of thousands of years. And so we have to realize that our impact on the environment is the single most important factor affecting not only wildlife, but our clean air, our clean water, and all the other things that we need from our planet. And that's a very important thing for us to remember.
Before taking any journey, you have to ask yourself one question. Why? Why does this matter? Whose lives will be changed by what I am about to do? And how will they be changed? When you know the answer to these questions, you know not only the meaning of your journey, but what you mean to the world. You know who you are, and you know what it means to be you, what it means to be a human being. The journey of wildlife conservation is very similar, except for one vital difference. It involves everyone. It affects everyone. Each plant, each animal, and each human on planet Earth is affected in some way by wildlife conservation, as much as they are affected by wildlife devastation. Each time a single person chooses to conserve wildlife in any way, shape, or form, someone or something is helped or even saved. Though the acts of one person can't change much on a global scale, their influence can change the world in unimaginable ways.
In regards to wildlife, what does it mean to be a human being?
Well, and especially after this election, probably the mantra that we're all in this together looms large, both in politics and policy here, locally and in our nation, but in terms of conserving biological diversity writ large. We're all in this together. We get these benefits. It makes our world a nicer place to live within. How terrible it would be if we've essentially left the world for our children and our children's children in such a depauperate state that it's nothing like we experienced growing up and as adults. There are 7 billion people on the planet right now, on its way to 10 in the next century, and so we have a lot of important decisions to make on what legacy we want to leave for the future.
When people stand together against an injustice, it is possible to change the world. But in order to bring people together, you have to take the first step on your own. You have to believe in your duty to protect the planet and all its inhabitants for the good of all living things, what it means to be a human being. Start today. Become a conserver of wildlife and join the mission to save the world, one animal at a time.
You don't need any background, you just need the interest and the desire to do something to help wildlife in the natural world. So call your town hall, find out how you can get involved.
We stood steady as the stars in the woods, so happy-hearted, and the warmth ran true inside these bones. We stood steady as the stars in the woods, So happy-hearted in the warmth rang true inside these bones. As the old pine fell, we sang. Just to bless the morning.